So, guys, we're gonna continue with part 7 of the same series, Ultimate Guide to Love and Relationship. As I mentioned in previous sessions, for relationship to be a successful relationship, couples should reflect on these areas. Okay, how to renew love, how to renew excitement, how to show empathy and emotional intimacy to your partner. They need also to discuss the childhood experience and the differences in a childhood experience. They need to have a conversation about differences in personality, temperament, spirituality, and they need to talk about any distorted thoughts that they struggle with or assumptions, how to handle conflict. And we already covered these areas like show love and show excitement, family of origin, temperament. Today we're going to discuss this part, distorted thoughts and the blocks of communication. But also they need to discuss, you talk about sexual intimacy, they talk about boundaries, they need to talk about how to experience gratitude in the relationship, how to let go and forgive in the within the relationship, how to cope with the challenges and the loss, how to share dreams and the goals, right? So I want you to memorize. This is the seventh session that I talk about the same points, right? You need to memorize them by now, because if you are in a relationship or planning for future relationships, you will need to be working on this area all the time. Otherwise, you're gonna have problem within the relationship. But this area I just mentioned are very sensitive areas. So you need to be, when you talk to your partner about these things, you need to be open, respectful, non-judgmental, and try to hug and smile, hug each other before the conversation if you're going to talk about this stuff, and after the conversation. And we already talked about this stuff last time. So for today, our focus, we're going to be, so we had a list, for people who attend the first time, this is a long list of things that partner should talk about all the time, at least once a week. Okay. So two topics or 2 points we're gonna discuss today: the communication and the distorted thoughts. Okay. So how I think, if you look at every family, you'll find every family has a unique culture that shape your way of thinking. So it is like you inherit a certain pattern of thinking from your family. And it is like intergenerational transmission of way of thinking. There is genetic part associated with it, but also it is role modeling. So if you copy your parent behaviors and the way they think, you're gonna have almost the same lens through which you see your experience. So because of the family culture, you will have a specific way of thinking. This will give you a lens through which you're gonna see everything around you. You're gonna see the world, you're gonna see the relationship, you're gonna see your partner behavior, motivation, attitude through this lens. Okay. This lens you can minimize things and can magnify things. Okay. And when so you have a lens, you got this lens from your parent. This is a way of thinking. It can lead to certain assumption. Okay. These assumption can be distorted sometimes. Okay. And if we have distorted assumptions, it can result in conflict. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, we call this assumption, when it is distorted, we call it cognitive distortion. So when people have irrational way of thinking, we call this cognitive distortion. And if you have been doing cognitive behavioral therapy with me, I'm sure you are familiar with cognitive distortion. Okay. So cognitive distortion gonna cause you problem like emotional pain and anxiety, depression, and also gonna cause you relationship problems. And here is a list of cognitive distortion. If you are not familiar with these stuff, you can Google them, like just look up what is the meaning of each one, and you're gonna find lots of examples. I'm gonna go through them very quick to tell you what everyone, what does it mean. For example, labeling. What labeling means you give yourself or your partner a label, and then you live with this label. Like, for example, I am a failure. If you believe that you are a failure, this means you're gonna fail in everything. Okay. Another cognitive distortion is generalization or over generalization. An example for it, when people, like you have a negative past experience with your ex, she was unfaithful, and then you start to believe, oh, all women are unfaithful. So if you are starting a new relationship and you have this core belief that all women are unfaithful, and you generalize the idea, this is going to cause you problem in future. Or all men are rude. So all men are rude. This is going to cause you problem dealing with or interacting with men. Another one is discounting the positive. You know, let's say your partner has 10 positive traits. 10 positive traits and one negative personality trait. Only one negative, 10 positive. And you are kind of person who discount the positive and just focus on the negative and magnify the negative. We call this discounting the positive. Of course, this is going to cause you problem. Mind reading. Mind reading means you assume you know what other people are thinking about, and you know what they need, and when you know what they want without you listening. This also can cause problem. Fortune telling, you know, or prediction. You think you know what's going to happen in the future. Okay. Compare and despair. Compare. This means you compare your negative side with other people positive side. Of course, it's going to cause depression and anxiety, despair, frustration. You know, especially in social media, you see one of your friends who post or a couple who post their photos about a vacation, and it looks as they have fun. And then you had an argument with your partner, or you had a fight with your partner yesterday. So you're going to compare the fight and the argument with their vacation. This comparison going to create emotional pain and going to create more conflict between you and your partner because of the comparison that you are creating. Also, catastrophizing. This is an irrational way of thinking. You expect the worst going to happen. You catastrophize the situation. So you expect the worst, and you create a scenario, a very negative scenario, and you live in this scenario, and maybe you spend 3 or 4 days just trying to cope with a scenario that you created out of your mind is not related to reality at all. Another one is black and white thinking, which you see life is black and white. You know, oh, Dr. Atalla is the best doctor in the city, or Dr. Atalla is the worst doctor in the city. Okay, so you see that I'm not the best doctor and I'm not the worst doctor. I'm just in between. I'm not totally black or completely white. I mean, in between. The same thing with your partner. Oh, my man is the best man in the world. Okay, or my man is the worst man, or my husband is the worst man I have ever seen. This black and white thinking cause problems. Okay. Personalize mean you when something negative happen, you feel you are responsible for it. It is like shame and the guilt. You feel guilty for anything negative happen, even you are responsible or not. You feel that you personalize the negative situation. But anyway, I know if you are familiar with this stuff, you find it easy. You have been working with me for more than a year. I'm sure we went through this many times. But if this is the first time, I would suggest you go on YouTube and look up cognitive distortion, and they give you more examples about this stuff. Anyway, for the sake of our session today, we're gonna, I want you to answer these questions. So these questions are created for couples. So couples can ask each other these questions. So they get to know each other. For the session today, if we have some couple who attend together in our seminars, you can answer these questions together. That's great. That's good. If you are not in a relationship, that's fine. You can answer this question as if you are talking about yourself. Okay. Or if you are in a relationship and your partner is not attending today, that's fine. You can answer this question about your partner. So there's two ways to do it. You talk about yourself or you talk about your partner. I'll tell you how you're going to do it. So, for example, if couple is doing it, they're going to ask each other, which cognitive distortion do you think I engage in? So I am asking my partner, which cognitive distortion do you think I do all the time or I engage in all the time? It could be black and white. It could be catastrophizing, discounting the positive, black and white thinking, personalizing, or any of the ones that we just mentioned. Another one, so you're going to tell me you choose three, and again we're going to put it in the chat now, like overgeneralize, discount positive, compare and despair, always being right, which you think you are right all the time, labeling, personalizing, magnification. Magnification mean you think you magnify, like see a problem like this much, you see it at this much. So magnification, also minimizing a big problem is a problem, you know, so magnification and exaggeration is a problem. Over minimizing also is a problem. We want to see the reality. We don't want to see distorted reality. Anyway, you tell me which one do you struggle with. You can ask, you tell me which ones do you struggle with, or which ones do you think your partner struggle with. Okay. And then out of the four you choose, tell me which one in particular you use often. Okay, which one in particular you use often. And then give me example, how do you use it? And then tell me how, when you use this cognitive distortion or engage in this cognitive distortion, how it make you feel and how it make your partner feel. Okay. And then have your partner try to challenge it before or not? And if you're talking about your partner, did you try to challenge these irrational assumption before or not? So easy. You're going to tell me which cognitive distortion you engage in most of the time. Choose one in particular that you use often. Give me an example and tell me how it makes you feel. And do you think, is this distorted thinking affecting your relationship or not? Is this distorted thinking affected your relationship or not? Another thing, does this distorted thinking hurt your partner or not? And if so, if this distorted thinking hurt your partner, which one is the most hurtful? Let's say you have 4 cognitive distortion. Which one is causing problem most of the time? And another one, is your partner willing to point out this assumption, distorted assumption, or are you willing to point out to your partner which cognitive distortions they have? So again, you can talk about yourself or you can talk about your partner. It's up to you. Which cognitive distortion you struggle with or your partner struggle with. Choose one you engage in often. Give me example how you engage in this one, maybe black and white. How do you engage in it? Or give me example, what did happen? How does this cognitive distortion make you feel and make your partner feel? Did your partner try to challenge you, or did you try to challenge your partner before or not? How it affects the connection between you and your partner? Have you ever been hurt by this cognitive distortion, or you hurt your partner with this cognitive distortion? And which one is the most hurtful? Like which one is the most damaging? I believe that all of them are damaging to any relationship, but which one is the most damaging? And are you willing, or your partner willing, to talk about this cognitive distortion or not? Okay, I'll ask the question, how could your partner change, you and your partner change this cognitive distortion? to identify them. This is part of the recovery. This is part of the process of changing them. But what else you can do to change these cognitive distortion? Of course, you can attend the CBT counseling. They're going to help you to do it. But if you have other ideas, let me know. So this is one part of our discussion today. Because of time, you don't have to, like, you can answer all of them, but when we share and have a discussion, I want you to choose 3 of them only to answer. 3 of them only, maybe this one, and then you tell me this one, and then this one, for example. So we covered one part is called the distorted assumption or cognitive distortion. The other part, we're going to talk about communication. Okay. And I think next session also will be about communication. What causes problem in the relationship when you don't feel listened to or understood. If you are in a relationship and you feel you are not understood, this is going to cause problems. Most probably the relationship will not continue. And you need to know that hearing is not listening. Hearing your partner is not the same as listening to your partner. So I'm sure listening means you pay attention to what they are talking about. Lack of communication can cause resentment and frustration. And in this session, we're going to talk about some of the blocks to communication or listening. So we'll talk some of these blocks. So I put a list of here for blocks to listening. Actually, I'm not. This list is from DBT. This is part of dialectical behavioral therapy. The blocks to listening. So I told you. So hearing is not the same as listening. Okay. The problem. There are some barriers for healthy listening. These are the most common barriers. One of them is mind reading, so you assume you know what your wife is talking about or what she wants. So you assume you know without listening. We call this mind reading. Rehearsing mean you don't listen to what they're saying, you are just planning to what you're going to say next. So you think about or rehearse what you're going to say next, and you are not listening to what they're saying. Filtering means you listen only to important things to you. You don't listen to the whole thing. You listen only to the things that are important. Judging, you judge your partner, which you add negative feeling toward your partner. Daydreaming, which you lose focus, like you don't pay attention and you get engaged in some memories in the past and you don't even listen or pay attention to what they are talking about. Advising, which is common with healthcare worker like me and the other doctors and the social worker. You always think about to advise them what advice I'm gonna give, and you don't listen to what they're talking about. So you're always looking for solution, which is good. You try to solve the problem, but before you try to solve the problem, try to listen to the problem first. So advising also is a barrier to listening. Arguing. Some people will argue for the sake of argument. That's it. So the debating or arguing also a barrier. Being right. So you get into any conversation just for one thing, you wanna prove that you are right. So you resist anything other than being right. Derailing, which is change topic. Your boyfriend is talking about something and then you don't want to listen or you don't value the conversation, so you change the topic. And that's fine. Sometimes we need to change the topic when in the heat of the moment, you need to change the topic sometimes. But if it is this is a pattern that you are repeating the same pattern all the time with any conversation, I don't think this is going to solve any problem. Placating, which is agreeing too quickly without listening. You say, yes, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it without listening. This also causes problem. So you need to memorize these stuff and try to avoid all of them within the discussion. I'm sure all of us do. You're going to be doing 2 or 3 of them. For me, for example, I do this all the time, advising. What else? Yeah, and the mind reading. I do this one all the time too. Assume I know, like I have experience with everything, so I know. So look at them, memorize them, because we're going to use them for the next exercise. So again, this exercise, the same thing. You can answer as if you are talking about yourself, or you can talk about your partner, or if you and your partner are attending today, you can both answer this question. So the first question, do you think you or your partner are argumentative in your discussion or in your conversation? I told you one of the barriers as argument or arguing for the sake of argument. So do you have this barrier or not? Do you change the subject or make a joke? I told you drilling, like you change the subject all the time when your partner speak. Or tell me if your partner is the one who is doing it, also share it with us if your partner is doing it. Okay. Another, do you ever think about what you're going to say next? And instead of really listening, you just think about what you're going to say next, which we call it here in the barrier rehearsing. Or some people will bring up issues from the past, and instead of focusing on the present, you just get stuff from the past and start arguing and have fights about it. Or do you have to be right all the time? Do you have to be right? What I mentioned here is that being right. Or like me, do you like to give advice all the time? Okay. Or do you do mind reading and do you misinterpret what your partner is talking about? Misinterpretation and mind reading. Do you judge all the time? Okay. Do you seem to agree too quickly? You agree too quickly. So again, this question is, I'm just asking you, do you do mind reading? Do you do rehearsing? Do you discount certain things or filter? Do you judge? Do you daydreaming? Do you advise all the time? Argue all the time? You want to be right all the time? You want to change topics? You change topics all the time? Or you agree too quickly without listening? So you tell me if you or your partner are doing one of these, okay? So this is just to summarize all these questions about these barriers. And the last question is, how can partner improve their communication skills? How can partner improve their communication skills? And again, I want you to answer all these questions, but during the discussion, just to choose 3 things that you wanna. So basically in this one, like tell me 3 of them that you use all the time if you struggle with this stuff. And also if you can answer this question, how partners can improve communication skills. I'll give you 5 minutes to think. So you're going to choose 3 questions from this part, and you're going to choose 3 questions from the previous exercise, and then Brooklyn will run the discussion.